Well, actually, something that you might be interested in. I just did a workshop recently, which was dance for CEOs.
Oh, how exciting!
So it's called Exiting the Comfort Zone, and they would come in. They don't know what they're doing. I do a little spiel about leadership, and then I say, by the way, just let you know, you're going to be choreographing and dancing.
That's absolutely brilliant.
And you see the sweat. Yes, absolutely. Talk about living with the stress. So I've been doing that recently.
That's amazing.
And how about yourself? Well, what are you up to? Exciting ideas.
Well, because of Brexit, we're expanding into an international market a little bit more. So
what do you mean because of Brexit?
Well, so with music obviously is the universal language, and we want to be able to transcend any potential borders or problems.
Right, yeah.
And so we've done royalty deals with international partners, so that rather than spending money paying extra money to get music out, we have a slightly bigger cut taken on the royalties that come back.
Okay.
So there's no upfront cost, but we just keep going, and we're massaging more music into the international market.
Oh, brilliant.
Despite Brexit. So.
And how's it going with all the...
It's going very well. I mean, the big hits come in this country, but we're expanding so that we can get a sort of moderate...
So what do you mean, like, the big hits?
So, sorry, I'm talking purely financially. So in terms of the business operations, the advertising in this country and America is a huge amount of our work. But then we're expanding so that the international markets are bringing in a regular amount. So we've got Kinder in Germany at the moment, which is playing every day on the telly, and that's kind of filtering through.
Yeah.
So it's going well. I mean, I was going to argue in this session maybe that creativity is often thought of as being a disparate part of business, but I would argue that emotional intelligence is a huge amount of good business practice. Do you find that from your work as dancer?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I've just been introduced to the idea of emotional intelligence and the classical form of emotion compared to what neuroscience is seeing with emotion.
Yes.
And the construction of labelling emotions onto our feelings that we're having, which I find really interesting as a dancer, and the physicalities of the body. And then if emotions are constructed onto that, what does that mean for our emotional intelligence, the projection of the emotional state in our relationship with communicating? And what does that mean with goal achieving, and how we have to deal with the resilience of bouncing back from the pressures of the work environment?
That's really interesting. Something that I've always been fascinated by is how you measure emotion internally versus externally. Versus, somebody can appear incredibly calm, but actually they can be terribly wound up in their own thoughts, and how that sort of affects our art or our business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're absolutely wound up about something and you're trying to sell a product to a customer, you've got to maintain absolute calm and collected thinking, otherwise that projection.
Yeah, exactly. And you've been flooded. Chemically being flooded, so you're not in your own state. And how do you? I mean, I find like with performance, that's something you're doing. You're regulating your sense before you step into stage. How do you feel with creativity and how, from a music perspective, how that benefits a business strategy?
Well, so. Of course, during the music creation process, I'm actually kick-starting that myself. So if I'm writing a particularly upbeat piece of music to sell a particular product, or I suppose even a dance piece or a piece of art, I'm actually deliberately having lots of sugar or putting myself as like a method acting, putting myself in that headspace that can be quite difficult sometimes. The sort of Heath Ledger effect. If you're creating the Joker, the sort of the awful. But of course, when you're selling, it's a totally different mindset for me. I find that I've got to be in a particular place in mindset, and I don't.
Could you tell me about that particular place when you're selling, and how that is different from the creative process?
Absolutely. So I have to prepare myself. I remember reading that David Suchet, the actor, when he went on stage, stood in a mirror and said, "I'm David Suchet, I am now Poirot, and this is my birthday." And he actually went through an entire kind of process to become that character.
Right.
And then when he came off stage, he had to actually sort of decompress deliberately. Otherwise, he'd go home and not remember his name.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's not quite that extreme.
Yeah.
But I find that very much before a meeting, I always have a pre-meeting coffee.
Yes.
Whether it's with a colleague or myself, just to kind of put my head in the right gear and work out what we're doing. Because of course, the creative process, as we know, is so fragmented and so disparate. And during the course of that process, you've got to find order where there maybe isn't order, and connect those, have those neurons that fire in a particular unconnected way, and then find your way through to a structure. I find structure is very important. Even in a small piece of music to sell a product, you've got to have a 3-act structure. You'll set the tone.
So tell me a little bit about this 3-act structure that you use.
Well, normally I try and have a beginning, middle, and an end, and develop the idea and take people on a journey. I mean, in a much smaller case than in a dance piece, I've got to leave the audience feeling that they've travelled, or they've at least gone somewhere or developed emotionally during the course of that. Even a 10-second jingle, it's got to have some effect on people.
So do you use that technique linked, like when you're in a sales process? Will you go for a 3-act structure to take them to a sense that they're like, wow, this is just amazing?
It's very interesting. I don't, but I've got a tactic which my colleague told me, which it always works. And this is hilarious. I don't know if you've done this, but if you're trying to create a particular product or sell a particular idea, or there's a project that you're talking to a funder about and you really want to develop that project, we find that you don't sell it first. So you come into the meeting and you have the meeting and you come up with some idea, and you talk about it for about an hour or whatever. And then at the very end of the meeting, you go, oh, by the way, and as you're oh, by the way, we've got this idea that we really like. Can we ask you about it just quickly? And they always go for that second idea. It's so weird. I don't know why. I think it's because they feel ownership. They feel they can actually that's really good. I want to be part of that. And then they really invest in it emotionally. Do you find that?
Well, that makes sense to me completely, because one of the things is I never sell my product.
Right.
I never put my product first. I will put the relationship first.
Yes.
So I will get to know the person, and I'll understand what their need is, and authentically, can I heal their challenge? Can I have a solution that makes it different? But again, I'm still not selling. As we're discussing, we're having the process, and go, okay, I can actually help here. And then later on, as it gets on a bit, we'll just make agreement. This is what we're agreeing on. This is what you need, and this is what I've got. And then at the end of it, going, well,
what are you prepared to pay for it?
Well, ideally, what happens is that they ask me.
Right.
That's when I'm really in the zone with it, because through the relationship and what we've come to agreement that we need to do this together.
Fantastic.
And then it's kind of, so it doesn't always happen. That's just when it's just in the zone, but they're just like, when can we start?
That's amazing.
And so the product isn't the thing that's I've got this and buy it, but it's like, what do you need? This is what I've got.
Yeah.
And it's also this idea of closing. I like the idea of connecting. We're starting a relationship.
Yes,
I want this relationship to go on and on. If we enjoy working together, let's just keep it going.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Because I think my world is a little bit like dealing with sub-publishers, and you've got to basically convince them that they're going to make money, because at the end of the day, the music business is completely cutthroat. But I completely concur with you on collaborations. Like, there's no way you could enter a collaboration and think, I'm going to take. You've got to say, what can I give?
Yeah.